What's up? A to Z Sports Live on a Tuesday. Glad to have everybody along talking about the Titans and continuing their reaction from the win over the Carolina Panthers. I was off yesterday, but back at it and to have a conversation about what the Titans are trying to do here and the critical point that they're at in their season where they're right there in no man's land between a playoff push and a top 5 draft pick. It's a weird spot for them to be. It's a weird spot for the fans to be. After beating the Panthers, you go from the 6th overall pick to the 10th pick. And then the Bears win last night, which was actually a good thing for the Titans draft pick watch. So we'll discuss a lot of this conversation throughout this morning. And so going to have a fun conversation about that, talking about Mike Vrabel, the motivation to win. Also, Arden Key has some experience to lean on as well. So a good back and forth, I feel like we're going to have with this first topic of the day. And Treylon Burks, what is his situation as he's missed now a couple weeks with his concussion? Mike Vrabel was asked about Treylon Burks and when or if he'll return. And an interesting answer from the head coach about the first round draft pick from 2 drafts ago. So, Zach, we'll talk about that, then throwing shade here live at the end of the show. So, Zach, welcome in. Yep, new house for me, first show, getting the feels and getting the situation figured out here. But Zach, welcome in. Let's get this thing going.
Yeah, I got a lot to get to on this Tuesday as we review what Mike Vrabel said yesterday. We are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So we got you covered there. We will tweet out segment by segment, link by link on our Twitter handle /X handle at A to Z Sports. So follow us there. It's a great follow for all of you Titans fans. If you're watching, the easiest, most efficient way to watch is on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. You get live notifications, whether it is our live streaming shows in the morning, Buck and Prime Time. We've got press conference clips, YouTube Shorts. Great subscription there on our YouTube channel. Just go search ATOZ Sports Nashville, and you will find our handle. If you already are subscribed, go ahead and like this video. It helps the algorithm, gets more people into the community. That's what we want. We want more people in this conversation, and we value everybody's opinion. That's the dialogue and the conversation that we are going to have each and every morning. And on Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers? Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing on this show. So share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed, and we can get this thing started on a Tuesday.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline at A to Z Sports. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai, wilsoncountyhyundai.com for your new car buying process. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans, get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Aura app, protecting your information online, and get a 2-week free trial with our link, aura.com/ATOZ. And Krebs Kubota, an elite Kubota dealer with 3 great locations, Murfreesboro, Columbia, and Franklin, online at KrebsKubota.com. So, Zach, the Titans won that game Sunday against the Carolina Panthers. I did the post-game show with Jack. It definitely felt like a sleepy Nashville. It felt like a snoozer of a win. And I didn't react with you on Monday, but talking to Jack in the post-game show, he felt like it was the second half of that game was the drink of water, the glass of water you have between every alcohol drink when you're out to try to keep yourself steady, right? It was, you had a great first half and then you sobered up a little bit and it got kind of boring, but you went to sleep and everything went pretty well. But you wake up and now this week with the Colts coming into Nashville, there's a big opportunity for to get your first divisional win of the season and a big opportunity for the Tennessee Titans to inch closer and closer to a playoff spot because they're really not that far away. And I know you and Sam talked about this yesterday, just 2 games really out, 2 wins out of a playoff spot as the AFC is in a complete jumbled mess there, right there with all the standings, 4-win teams to 6-win teams. There's a lot of people right there in the mix.
Well, if you want to go with the drinking analogy, you stop drinking at halftime. They stopped serving, so you stopped drinking. So you didn't score a point in the third and fourth quarter, but you got a lot done in the first and the second with turnovers. You played better than you have in the past, and then you also have this wrinkle within the season, which is you've never lost a home game, right? I mean, that's what they tell you to do. If you win all your home games, you can steal some on the road. You should be in the playoffs. Now, they've got more home games on the horizon, and they had the funny London stuff with Baltimore, which counted as a home game. But, they have a lot of divisional opponents ahead. I mean, you got Colts, Texas twice, and Jags. That's an opportunity to make some moves in the AFC while other AFC teams are playing. I think it's also how you are playing, how your young quarterback is playing. Can Derrick Henry get back to where Derrick Henry needs to be? Your front four played probably the best game to date through 4 quarters. Can they keep that up? Did they finally find something and blend where they can pressure the quarterback, which is going to help the secondary and especially the corners that have struggled at times? And we know that's been documented, that's been noticed with Christian Fulton throughout the course of the year. Roger McCreary has made some mistakes. You had Sean Murphy-Bunting, which I think he had to come back. He was kind of your most reliable resource. He made a couple of plays on Sunday's game. So can Mike Vrabel do what Mike Vrabel traditionally does and rally his team to beat teams that they're not picked to beat?
Yeah, and they won the game that they were supposed to win. And so Mike Vrabel in his past has the most wins as an underdog since he became a head coach in 2018, and they're an underdog against the Colts. They're probably going to be an underdog in the last 6 games of the season. I don't see the Titans being favored again, so a chance for the underdog mentality to really pull you out of that. So let's go to Mike Vrabel, who was asked yesterday in his press conference about how close are you to truly fighting for that playoff spot, and in this game against the Colts, an opportunity to truly mix it up and get up there in the AFC playoff race.
If you can take care of business with the Colts this weekend, do you feel like that gets you back in the fight, or is it still too early to say that?
Yeah, we're looking to fight every week. I think for us to look that far in advance doesn't, we got to focus on this week. We got to focus on health here, recovery, improvement, these little details, these techniques that I know that we can be better at, that we have to.
So there's Vrabel. Yeah, you obviously have to go week by week. The old James Franklin, you want to go 1-0 every week, and that's the whole goal there. But it does feel like if you can beat the Colts at home, you've won 4 home games, you've got 4 out of your last 6 at home in Nissan Stadium, then you're starting to inch closer and closer, and now it starts to become real if you can get a back-to-back wins for the first time this season.
Yeah, and Mike Vrabel's got to go in there and rally. I mean, he has to rally these players, but I think more importantly, it's kind of a twofold system where you have Will Levis in this young quarterback that has got to navigate, and he's won 2 games. That's a positive. A rookie quarterback, I mean, he's won more games than Bryce Young has won. Let's just face it, right? And he's played in a less amount of games. So I think this is about Will Levis's development towards the end of the season and gaining confidence. You talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars of last year, which I think is valid in a conversation. Yeah. And what kind of confidence? Now, their team got better. Like, they went from the worst team in the league to getting better players because they had better picks to spending a lot of money surrounding their quarterback and a new head coach that wasn't Urban Meyer, right? Doug Peterson has done a phenomenal job. But what did that do for Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence on the other side? I mean, can Will Levis at the end of this year kind of take that, page and build on something? And can Will Levis give the Titans fan base something to look forward to each and every week? It starts with Indianapolis and Austin. I don't know how you feel about Indianapolis. In my opinion, it is a winnable game for the Tennessee Titans. It's at home. They're coming off of a win. The Colts have a backup quarterback. Now, Now, Gardner Minshew has found Michael Pittman Jr. more than ever. And you got to watch and key that guy, which I think can be problematic for the Titans because they don't do well against premier or top wide receivers. And Michael Pittman Jr. has played like one in the last couple of weeks. I just think that it's a winnable game, and that momentum can give the fans some hope, but more importantly, give the locker room and the coaching staff some hope.
Well, the Colts winning this past week, while it kind of hurt in the standings, it kind of went along with what I feel about with how the NFL goes in ebbs and flows. The Colts are at best an above average team, and usually above average teams struggle to consistently put winning streaks together. And so if the above average team wins, there's a likeliness that they're going to lose the next week. That's just kind of my theory there. But you brought up the Jags. Arden Key, who was on the Jags last year, was asked about the Jags 3-7 start and then the rally to finish in winning the division.
You were with Jacksonville last year, and they were kind of giving up for dead at this time of the year, and then went on an impressive run to make the playoffs. Do you preach any of that to these guys in this locker room?
Here? Yeah. I mean, when we had those 3 losses, and everybody had they inputs on different things. But for me, every time it was whether I was in Jacksonville or San Fran, when we went through those, we went back to the basics. We went back, just like last week, we went back to the basics. We went to camp stuff. The things we ran in camp, we ran last week. And the things in camp is what we know how to run. We know how to run those things. And we played fast, as you saw last Sunday, just because everything was simple.
And Vrabel was talking about keeping it simple. They ran simple defenses. They ran just go get Bryce Young, and it worked for Arden Key and Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry, and Harold Landry. Those 4 guys played their best game of the season. So, Zach, the Titans are sitting here between a playoff push and a top 5 draft pick. It can go either way, and it really can. And a lot of people are going to laugh at the thought that a playoff push could be a real thing. But it is this Colts game. If the Titans beat the Colts, they are right there in the thick of a playoff push. If the Titans lose to the Colts, the playoffs are basically dead. And now you're looking at draft position. You've got some tough teams coming up, like Miami, Houston twice, who's also trying to get to the playoffs, the Jags again in Seattle, who's trying to get to the playoffs too. So you're right there in between it. So let's ask this question and get the chat more involved this morning. Which is more likely? The Titans get a top 5 pick or they make the playoffs? So we're not talking about missing the playoffs or pushing. We're talking about making the playoffs, and not just like an 8th overall pick or a top 10 pick, but the top 5 pick. So which is more likely, a top 5 pick or making the playoffs for this team? So Zach, I'll let you get to the chat after you tell everybody about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com is where to go to get your new health plan. I got my new health plan a couple of years ago. Health, dental, and vision. And they've got agents all across the state, 200 plus locations. So, when it comes to your health plan, you want to have somebody that you value, that may be local. Well, Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee can do that for Tennesseans all across the state. They've been in business over 75 years. And it's very easy in the sense of all you've got to do is get a quote. To get a quote, you take a health assessment. They wait a couple of days, they give you a quote, they find your health plan, and then you make the decision if you should switch. I made that decision a couple of years ago, and I'm really glad that I did. I've kept it, and I've reaped the benefit of it when I've needed it. Health, dental, and vision. I get free teeth cleanings. I get a contact allowance because I wear contact lenses. It's big time, and you know what? I pay less money, and that's always a big thing when it comes to your health plan because you never know when you need it, but you do need it. Farm Bureau Health Plans of Tennessee is where you need to go. Visit FBHP, Farm Bureau Health Plans, FBHP.com/ATOZ.
And BetMGM, it's football season. It's also basketball season. You can win big with our bonus code at BetMGM. Sign up with our code ATOZ Sports, and you get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if that first bet misses. So when you sign up with our code ATOZ Sports, you go big with your first bet because you get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if that first bet misses. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification, eligible requirements. First online room wager only. Rewards usually done as knowledgeable bonus bets. Bonus bets expire 7 days. And for problem gambling support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. So, Zach, I'll send you the chat. Which is more likely? The Titans get a top 5 draft pick or make the playoffs? Those are kind of the extremes of the directions this season can go. Which is more likely, a top 5 pick or making the playoffs? Because right now the Titans are picking 10th and they're currently just 2 games out of a playoff spot with a big AFC South matchup against the Colts coming up in 5 days.
Yeah, I really, I suggest that people go back and look at the playoff standings this week because that's why we're asking the question. And it's not a top 10 pick, boys and girls. It's a top 5 pick. So you see right there, I mean, with a win, theoretically, the Titans automatically move up to 11th because they've got the tiebreak over the Chargers and the Bengals.
Yep.
Indy, they don't have that division, but you go from 14th to 11th. You play Houston twice. Denver still has to play Kansas City. Buffalo has a tough schedule ahead.
Denver's played the Chiefs twice already, by the way.
They have?
Yeah.
I thought they play them at the end of the season. That's the Raiders, excuse me.
Yeah.
I was watching the Raiders game. That was one of the things that they were saying. So I'd have to look at Denver's schedule. If you watch the Denver Broncos, I'll be honest, they're more phony than real. That they're winning games, mind you, but Russell Wilson is not looking like he was as a young Russell Wilson. So I think that they're beatable. I'm not sitting here saying the Titans are great, but it's a top 5 pick, not a top 10 pick, a top 5 pick or the playoffs. Dylon says a top 5 pick, playoffs from Steven, top 5 pick, trust the tank. So there's Titans fans coming on there. Orlando says make the playoffs, top 5 from Cost 66. Playoffs greater than top 5 pick from Tiffany. John says top 5 from Chase and Darius. They make the playoffs is more likely from Jamel. Willie says top 5 pick. DeMarco as well. Let's see here. Michael says top 5 pick. Duran says top 5 pick. Ethan says playoffs. Likely the pick is Byron, top 5 pick from DeMario. More likely is the top 5 pick from Alex, top 5. So I think this is a interesting question. You also have to realize is it's more likely you only got 4 slots available because you just beat the Panthers.
Yes.
You got to realize that.
Yeah.
So it's a top 4 really pick, not a top 5 pick, because you have the tiebreak over Carolina and there's nothing else. You can't go back and play that game again.
Yeah, it's look,
which
again,
is the Bears pick, honestly.
Yeah, right. The Bears are winning this one. So, by the way, the Denver Broncos have won 5 games in a row, which is absurd.
That's what we're talking about. But they're not. They beat Kansas City, which was impressive. But
that was the Patrick Mahomes flu game. That was not the Michael Jordan flu game. It was the opposite. He was not good in that game, but he had the flu. And then they beat the Bills because the Bills are a disaster. They beat Josh Dobbs and the Vikings by 1 point, and then they blew out the Deshaun Watson-less Cleveland Browns, and they beat the Packers. So they've had a couple wins that look okay on paper, but when you peel it apart, it's like the Bills are a disaster. The Browns don't have a quarterback. And the Vikings, is Josh Dobbs, who kind of fell crashing back to earth the last couple of weeks after being up in space for a while. So, I look at the draft order and I have a hard time seeing the Titans getting a top 5 pick. It was a big deal for the Tennessee Titans that the Chicago Bears won last night because now you're even in the win column with the Bears. You've got all these teams sitting here. Even though you've beaten the Chargers, you lost to the Bucks, but I don't know. I can't remember how the draft order stands.
Is that correct?
That's correct. That is correct. That the playoff standings and the draft order go by different metrics. So just because you lost to Tampa doesn't mean you are ahead of Tampa in the draft order. It's a different pecking order of things. That this is via Tankathon. That is the Bible of draft tanking orders throughout the season. You can Google it all you want, but that's the order there. So New England, Arizona, and Carolina are going to be picking top 3 in whatever order. So really, you've got 2 spots and you're tied with 4 wins with all of these teams to go for the top 5 pick. So Zach, I think my official answer for what is more likely is I think it's more likely to get a top 5 pick because I don't believe in this Titans offense to put drives together consistently to score enough points when the game matters and it's on the line. I just don't trust the offense. The defense is doing its job until they fall apart because the offense can't do its job well enough to protect the defense. So my official answer, Zach, more likely to get a top 5 pick than make the playoffs. But again, it all hinges on the game against the Colts on Sunday.
We got to check those. The draft is not set up that way. If you lose head to head, you should not. That's not how that works. I've been covering the NFL long enough, so that's incorrect. Now the season is not over. Be in mind, but that's not right. So
But that,
I
when
check your sources.
Well, Zach, it's tankathon.com. Everybody knows
The
tankathon.com.
team with the worst record in games played against each other gets the higher pick in the NFL draft order. It's a head-to-head record.
So I think where it gets goofy is because you've got 4 teams at 4 and 7. That's right, because they're all in the pot and it all goes into one recipe and it came out Bucks, Jets, Chargers, Titans. That's the current draft order via tankathon.com.
Yeah, I guess I would question tankathon.com.
Okay, all right. If there are 2 teams that have the same record, if the Titans and the Bucks were sitting there at the same record at the year's end, then yeah, the Titans would go ahead of the Bucks because that's the commonality. That's the head-to-head thing there. But when you're grouped in a pool of 4 and 7 teams, it goes differently. Because you can't just say head-to-head.
The Bucks haven't played the Chargers. It's not like everybody's played.
I understand. But like the point is, it's a little bit different. Tankathon.com has the current draft order with how it would land with currently. And strength of schedule is a big factor in this too.
I'm telling you that
it's
head-to-head
not
matters.
It does matter when there's 2 teams with the same record. When there's 2 teams with the same record, and only those 2 teams have the same record, head-to-head matters, yes. When you have a group of teams, more than 2, that all have the same record, strength of schedule is typically the tiebreaker between those 3 or more teams, which is here we are. There are 4 teams, 4 and 7 records. The strength of schedule is the de facto tiebreaker. So the team with the easiest strength of schedule and the worst record goes up because they're worse. Go ahead.
So I'm going to go the other direction. I don't think that they're going to get a top 5 pick. I mean, I think I'm more confident in them not getting a top 5 pick because let's base this on a couple of things. It's really a top 4 pick because I already said they've got the tiebreaker over Carolina. And you could say strength of schedule at the end of the year. Once it gets up at the top, there's few teams, right? You're going to have less of a log jam at the top of the draft.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is, I think makes a difference is I think that Mike Vrabel as a head coach, isn't this what he does best? Is win games that he should not win?
We don't know. Win an underdog, yeah, but we've never seen Mike Vrabel in this situation of having to claw himself out of a 3 and 7 hole.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, I think that's the exciting part about it. But the top 5 draft pick, I think, is less likely of losing out. I just don't see them losing out. I know Miami, they're going to lose to. Jacksonville, it also may be a meaningless game for Jacksonville. It may not be. Who knows what the end of the season is going to be. And I also think that the Texans, you know what I expect this year from the Titans? The Titans to play the Texans like the Texans have played the Titans in years past. I expect that those to be close games when the Texans, I think, record, and if you've watched them, are a superior team. And then I also bank on Will Levis getting better, not worse. I think we've already seen that progression. Now, the first game was an anomaly. Let's just be honest. You're not throwing 4 touchdown passes consistently. We've seen now with a more range of work. But I look at the AFC playoff picture.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the Colts, the Texans twice, and the Jags still ahead of you, all vying for the playoffs. Correct? Right? The Texans are on the outside looking in because they just lost, but the Colts and the Jags are currently in. Your problem is you've lost to Cleveland and to Baltimore, right? So they're going to have the tie break over you at the end of the season. You've beaten Cincinnati, but those teams are going to play, right? They've got more games ahead. The Bills' schedule is, and the Bills aren't playing well. You've said it. I think we've all seen it. That was
disaster.
I was going for the Bills because I didn't want the Eagles to win on Sunday, but the Bills eventually lost. So where are you looking at? Kansas City and the AFC West. We mentioned Denver. Denver is actually a big X factor in this playoff picture, right? Because that's probably your competition of surging teams that are not in your division. So if you got a gun to my head and I got 2 options, I think it's more likely. I think the odds are in the favor of playoffs than top 5 pick. Now, they may pick 6th, but that's not a top 5 pick.
All right. I will tell you, Zach, the odds of the Titans making the playoffs based on actual history.
Do you have the odds? And you may not. Do you have the odds of top 5 pick?
I do not, because neither
does Tankathon, neither does anybody else. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I can probably figure it out. I can probably find it. I think ESPN.com does something where they have like odds of top overall pick, odds of top 5, but I'll have to dig for that. I had the other one handy. So I'll tell you the Titans odds to make the playoffs, the percentage chance the Titans can make the playoffs. But first, let me tell you guys all about A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa. It is holiday season. It is after Thanksgiving. If you haven't started your gift shopping, are you in trouble? Maybe, but I think we can help save you, and you can become a hero this holiday season with A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa. Go get that special person in your life a gift card, a gift certificate from A Moment's Peace Salon and Day Spa by going to amomentspeace.com/Christmas. That's amomentspeace.com/Christmas. Trust us, you'll be undefeated and you'll get a guaranteed win if you go to amomentspeace.com/Christmas this holiday season, whether it's your spouse, your significant other, your mom, your dad, everybody could use a massage. I love A Moment's Peace. I've been several times. I try to go 2 or 3 times a year to A Moment's Peace. I should probably go more because I get kind of knotted and stressed out, but I could use more massages just like we all could. But amomentspeace.com/Christmas is where you can be a hero this holiday season. Once again, amomentspeace.com/Christmas.
A to Z Sports, we're powered by BetMGM. Download the app today in your phone, in your Apple or Android app store. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. That's ATOZ SPORTS. Use that bonus code. You get bonus bets up to $1,500 if your first bet misses. That is for new users, and that is for new users that use the bonus code ATOZ Sports. So get in on the action. Last night's game was dreadful. It was bad. I just watched the end of it. And I thought the Vikings were going to win. Dobbs, bad game. Primetime, bad game. The Bears backdoor the Vikings, and that helps the Titans at least draft pick. But download the app today and BetMGM. After you get out of the percentage, I have figured out, because I was curious, it didn't make sense. Head-to-head versus I have the next criteria of what it is.
All right, so we will get to that here momentarily. So shout out Jimmy Wyatt of TennesseeTitans.com, who wrote this Sunday. Since 1990, teams that started the season 4-7 have made the playoffs 3.3% of the time. 5 out of 153 teams who started the season 4-7 have made the playoffs. 2% of those teams since 1990 have won the division, 3 out of those 5. So if you're making the playoffs after a 4-7 start, you're more likely to win the division than you are to make the wild card team based off the 5 teams that have done it previously.
Wow, they're not
And
winning
then-
the division.
Right. So that makes it so that tells you that only 2 of 153 teams since 1990 have been a wild card team after a 4-7 start. And that's where I think this is important, because the Jags are so far ahead of you. And how it happened last year with the Jags is the ultimate collapse after the Green Bay game by the Tennessee Titans, a lose 7 in a row, and the Jags took advantage of it by getting hot at the right time. So 3.3% chance to make the playoffs of 4-7 teams since 1990, and then less than 2% to make the wild card.
Here's why that doesn't matter, and why those stats are all well and good.
Mike says not an accurate stat. Yes, it is.
It's not. No, it's not. Mike's correct. The reason why is how many playoff teams were available with all those statistics.
It's 6 or 7, right? It
No,
is
no,
an
no,
accurate.
no. It's not 6 or 7. It's 7 now compared to 6. There's an extra spot now.
Yeah,
That's a massive difference. Those percentages would change.
That doesn't make it an inaccurate stat. The stat is correct.
It makes it irrelevant. I mean,
no,
it
doesn't.
It
there
does.
is- okay.
There's an extra spot now. The NFL has evolved. There's an extra game and an
Sure,
extra spot in the playoffs.
I don't I'm not arguing that fact. Both things are true. Both things are true. Teams that have made the playoffs after a 4-7 start, there's only 5 of them since 1990. That is true. That is a fact. Also a fact, there's 1 extra playoff spot. So
Out of the 5, how many have made them with 7 spots?
Well, a maximum of 2 because of the wild card thing. I just told you 3 of the 5 won their division, which is irrelevant when it comes to these 6 or 7.
The Jags
right?
were one of them. That's what I'm saying. That happened last year because of the extra spot.
Yes, but what did we just say? What did we just say?
History's
Zach?
already starting to change.
Yeah, but what we just said, the Titans are not going to win the division, right?
Yes, but there's an extra wild card spot.
I hear you, but only 2 of those. So 2 of 153. Is it more likely now that there's 7? Then yeah, of course. But it doesn't make the stat inaccurate. It just makes
it less relevant. That's my point.
That's fair. Then if you want to say
that has to be acknowledged when you read the stat, is that now it's completely changed. The structure, the dynamic of the season is completely changed, where you have an extra wild card spot, which is valuable, right? With you got 7 spots to do that.
You want me to adjust it? I'll adjust it. Instead of a 1.3% chance the Titans make a wild card spot, I'll say it's 2.6. I'll double the percentage, right? Does that make you feel better?
Well, is that correct?
I don't know. I just pulled it out of my ass.
No,
Okay.
No, that doesn't make me feel better because it's inaccurate now. What I'm saying is that it's hard to look at history. It's the same thing for Derrick Henry's 2,000-yard season. You could sit there and spew off all the guys that have ran for 2,000 yards. There's an extra game now. It's just the game has evolved. So we have got to recognize that when looking at history and comparing. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be brought up. You can bring it up, but it's not the same now. And I think that's why I lean more on the Titans making the playoffs or making a playoff push compared to a top 5 pick. And it's based on the extra spot. If there's only 6 teams, Austin, I'm not saying what I'm saying.
I get it. I don't disagree with what you're saying there. And for the record, Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards with 16 games before the 17th game. So which makes it's a good thing he got that in there the year before they expanded to 17 games.
That's my point, is that everybody moving forward, you're going to look back, but they're going to have an extra game.
Yeah, and costs. Thank you. I'm not wrong. I'm just quoting Jim's stats that factually, only 5 teams, the Jags being the 5th last year, have made the playoffs since I was born.
And that's what I'm saying.
1990.
I'll correct myself.
After a 4-7 start.
It's not inaccurate. It's irrelevant. That's my point.
You can think it's irrelevant. So you said you found the draft order thing, right?
Yeah, it says winning. Well, first is head-to-head record, which I did know. Head-to-head record, always your draft spot flips. So that is the basis. With what you were saying is the 4 teams. winning percentage in common games, I would assume is the next it is number 2. But for those 4 teams, which are Los Angeles, Tampa, Jets, and Titans, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Giants have that extra game.
The actual loss. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot can happen and a lot can change, obviously, over the weeks. We always want to track things, right? See where the Titans are lined up and if they should win or lose. They should always try to win. I am of that belief until it reaches a point of no return. But the Titans are not in that type of situation, Austin. The Titans, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I truly believe in my heart of hearts that this is true. Because of the Titans' circumstance and situation with Will Levis, they need to win all of their games. That should be the goal. You want Will Levis to perform at the highest level. You want to show and get his ability. You want to have him mature and progress and be able to make all of his reads. That is the biggest point for Titans fans. It's not to tank. You are not, when you tank for a quarterback that will change your franchise over the next several years and at least have that or afforded the opportunity to pick in that spot. The Titans, they need help. But Orlando, love of the show right there. He needs all of the confidence that he can get. And I believe if you look back at last year, Trevor Lawrence got that confidence. At 3-7, if Trevor Lawrence, instead of winning 7 games, lost the rest of the games, I don't think the Jags are in the same spot. I don't think their mindset and their mentality, I don't think we think about Jacksonville as a trending team. But Trevor Lawrence gained all that confidence. And after throwing like 4 picks in the first half in the playoffs, he came back and regained even more confidence of winning that game against LA and Herbert in the wild card matchup. So Titans fans, I'm sitting here, I don't usually tell you, but I'm telling you, you want Will Levis and this team to succeed. You don't want to tank because Austin, I think if they got the number 1 pick, which I don't think they're going to, they wouldn't take Caleb Williams anyway.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're not going to get the number 1 pick. But again, like if you get the number 1 pick, somebody's going to trade up to get Caleb Williams. And then you're the Bears, right? You're the Bears with a team. And I don't think Caleb Williams is a winner. I don't think he's got that personality, those characteristics to be a true winner. He doesn't seem like that type of guy. He seems like a stat guy. He seems like a great fantasy draft pick, but not going to win you many games. So if you get the top pick, which is not going to happen, but if you get the top pick and you draft or trade it back for somebody else to come get Caleb Williams, then now you're setting yourself up to get a ton of draft picks back to start building around Will Levis. And I said this in the pregame show, and I'll let you react to what I just said. Will Levis needs good experiences in the rest of the season. He needs to see the ball go through the hoop, right? That is what you don't need him to lose games and he goes, 50% completion percentage. You need to have him see the ball go through the hoop and handle success in correct ways to build on that. Now, what were you going to say about my
Caleb Williams? I've bet on a lot of USC games, and I've lost a lot of UFC games this year. But I really did that because I was like, I need to find out more about Caleb Williams. So I stayed up late on Saturday nights, and I would watch Pac-12 After Dark or whether they're playing Arizona or whoever. And I came to the conclusion about Caleb Williams. It's funny because Brandon sit here and says Caleb Williams is Johnny Football. I don't think he's Johnny Football because he has better attribute. He's just taller, bigger, stronger.
Yeah.
More accurate. He needs better coaching. And Caleb Williams can be successful in the NFL if he gets a good coach. And this is not like an out on Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley is asking Caleb Williams to do different things than what he is going to be asked in the pros. But he needs a better coach. He does not need Mike Vrabel as a head coach. He needs an offensive-minded coach like a Mike or a Shanahan or somebody like that gets it. And if Caleb Williams goes to a team like that, then I think he will be successful. If he goes to a young coach that doesn't have an offensive mind, that is just trying to figure out how to manage, he will fail like others have in the past.
Yeah, and look, Christian says, I think that's false, Austin. Caleb is that guy. USC's defense is absolutely trash. I don't disagree with that. Like, he's put up numbers.
That's why I say coaching. He has the stature, the height, the accuracy, the maneuverability within the pocket. He just needs coaching.
It's the makeup. It's the makeup of Caleb Williams, the competitor, that I struggle with on some things. Anyway, so we digress a little bit. I do have a couple things about this and some more chats for you guys to get to. I have a couple super chats and other comments that I want to read here. But first, I want to tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you need to go to the Bone and Joint Institute. They've got the experts and the resources all in one place in Franklin, Tennessee, to help you get back to health in an efficient way. Hopefully you don't need surgery, but if they do, they got their surgery center. They have the rehab facility right there. They'll also coach you up. Talk about coaching with Caleb Williams. They'll coach you up on how to get better just from home, doing it yourself. boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. They'll hook you up with a great deal right there at BetMGM. You can see at the bottom of the screen. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports.
All right, so going back to our main topic today, just to kind of reset here, the Titans at a critical point between a playoff push and a top 5 draft pick. We asked which is more likely, a top 5 pick or the Titans making the playoffs. Zach, you went with making the playoffs. I went with top 5 pick. I don't think they're going to get a top 5 pick, but look how close they are to a top 5 pick. The Titans are a loss to the Colts and potentially a bye week away from the Bears, Commanders, and Giants from being right there, right? I don't know how all the 4-8 teams would go into the blender and come out with, comparable games or strength of schedule. I don't know what that's going to look like, but they are right there to having the same record as a top 5 picking team with bye weeks from the Bears, Commanders, and Giants, and a loss to the Colts.
Let me flip the script on you. They're right there, and this is why I think it's a good question. They're right there. I don't think what you said is correct. They're right there. They beat the Colts. They would then beat the 7th seed. They've already beaten the 13th seed. They've already beaten the 11th seed. So they've beaten the Chargers and the Bengals. They would have beaten the Colts in this scenario. The Bills, the rest to go on their schedule, they still have to play the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and the Dolphins. Take that information as what you will. The Houston Texans, they still have to play twice, which is in the 8th spot right now. All of those things are ahead of them. Like I said, Denver is the unique part, but they have the schedule ahead of them to actually make the moves up to the 7th spot, and you get the benefit that there's an extra playoff spot because of the change a few years ago.
But Zach,
they're right. So I will say they are right there as well. Winning is more difficult than losing. I think we can all agree with that. But we believe that the Titans, they have winnable games.
Do they?
Yeah. Didn't you say are the Colts winnable?
Yes.
Are the Texans winnable?
Maybe.
Are the Seahawks winnable?
Maybe.
Okay, the Dolphins are not. We can both agree with that. Let's shake and move on. The Jags, and we say they could be in a meaningless scenario at the end of the season, which would be a winnable game. That's a huge if. I'm not sitting here going to die on that. But as we've talked about, the Colts, the Texans, and the Seahawks are winnable games. Will they win them? Will they be favored? No, and no. No, we don't know. But they are winnable. That's my point. This is it's a little bit of a glass half full mentality, which I get. Sure. But Will Levis, don't you feel like you've seen it's not Malik Willis, right? You're not going if Malik Willis was the quarterback, sign me up for top 5 pick. But Will Levis is a different type of cat. He's shown leadership, he's shown poise, he's showed downfield throws. He's shown also, that he can win.
I think that the game against the Panthers was maybe his worst performance so far in his 5 starts.
And missing things. I would agree with that. He was missing some things down the field.
Yeah, and so they put up 0 second-half points against the 31st ranked defense in the entire league. 0. And look, not all on Levis, some's on some spots, but he missed some big plays. I thought he missed more against the Panthers than he has any other game so far this season.
This is
So-
where a young quarterback can learn from those now, right?
Sure,
He
for sure.
just hasn't seen it enough to know that DeAndre Hopkins is streaking down the field,
Yeah.
and he has the arm talent to get it to him. He just didn't see him.
Jaron, he overcorrected his mistakes. I agree there. Xavier says Austin isn't the biggest fan of Levis anyway. No, I think he's the future. Like I think Will Levis has shown me the capabilities that he can be a legitimate quarterback at a starting level based off of what I saw against Atlanta, what I saw against Pittsburgh. And I'm like, all right, he's got it. Now it's just about putting it around him and not getting him killed with Andre Dillard, and Jalen Duncan was a slight improvement over that. All right, so a couple super chats, then we'll get to our Traylon Burks conversation here on this Tuesday morning. Andre came in with a couple of these super chats. So Andre says, think last year, beat the Jags and make the playoffs, don't have Skoronski or Levis. 10 or lower means no Joe Alt, Fasciano, Bowers, Coleman, Turner need talent. So those are some of the names of the draft prospects that could be gained with a top 8 to top 10 pick.
I mean, don't you believe that the Titans are in the running for an offensive lineman once again in the first round at a higher pick than in years past to kind of build around their young quarterback?
For sure. And hey, if Jalen Duncan can show you something the next 6 games, then maybe you could have a luxury in that opportunity. That's a long shot bet, but he's a 6th-round guy that they had a lot of upside in. Andre also comes in and says playoffs also increase the chances these bum coaches don't adjust or develop players, take a step back to take 3 forward, think long term. So I'm coming to I'll save that for a different show. So I think we've got plenty to talk about here. So Zach, anything else to add before we flip our conversation to Traylon Burks and what Mike Vrabel had to say about Burks?
No, let's flip to Burks because I think the chat, I think I know the temperature of the chat for this discussion. And I don't think I'm on the same temperature scale as the chat. On the first, I wasn't on the first topic because I think it's more likely they make the playoffs than a top 5 pick. I think it's more likely, and I think we can all agree, you sit here, we can all come to terms that it's more likely that they're going to have a top 10 pick than either of the choices. That just wasn't the question. Now, Burks, when Mike Vrabel gets snippy, we usually play it on the show.
Yes. So let's hear from Mike Vrabel on Traylon Burks real quick.
Protocol. Are you hopeful that he can take another step and get back on the
I'm
field?
hopeful for a lot of things, Jim, but I'll just wait, and see whenever the player, in this particular case, Traylon, clears the protocol, then we'll practice with him. No different than if that was anybody else, or hopeful that we get all our players back that aren't playing right now. So whatever that is, that's what it'll be. And that's all I can say, just because that's how you're supposed to operate within the protocol.
I'm hopeful for a lot of things, Jim. I don't know if Traylon Burks coming back from concussion protocol this week is one of them. Look, that's interesting comment there. So Traylon Burks getting hurt now, 3 weeks ago? That was, Pittsburgh, which was November 2nd. So we're approaching 4 full weeks.
He was carted off. I mean, this wasn't just like
it was significant. He did lose consciousness on the field.
And this is the second time he's been in concussion protocol in 2 years.
Less than a calendar year. Because his first concussion, if you remember, I'll never forget. John Robinson got fired on December 6th. The Titans play the Eagles on December 4th. And so it was 11 months between concussions there. So let's ask this question here. How much do the Titans need Traylon Burks back this season? A lot, a little, or not at all? How much do the Titans need Traylon Burks back this season? A lot, a little, or not at all? I have a feeling I know where people are going to go. But first, Krebs Kubota is where you should go for all of your equipment. I've talked about holiday season several times here on this show. The holidays are the perfect time to check out Krebs Kubota and their website, KrebsKubota.com. Whoever's in charge of the projects around the home, me here at my new house, KrebsKubota.com, to get that equipment that you need for the projects for the spring. Get your house, get your property looking great. You have that project that you're putting off into the spring when the weather gets great again. Krebs Kubota can take care of all of that with bigger equipment, small equipment, anything in between. They are an elite Kubota dealer, which means they have the best equipment with Kubota line and also the best warranties, plus the Krebs family name. They put their name on customer service and having elite customer service in their 3 locations across Middle Tennessee, Columbia, Franklin, Murfreesboro. Over 18 years in the mid-state, KrebsKubota.com.
A to Z Sports powered by BetMGM. Download the app today. They are our title sponsor here on the morning show. Use that bonus code ATOZ Sports. They're the king of the sports book.
All right, so this Traylon Burks situation. How much do the Titans need Burks back this season? A lot, a little, or not at all? Zach, I'll send you the chat. By the way, like the show. If you haven't liked the show yet, if you're watching, I have a feeling a lot of you guys have not liked the show yet on Facebook or YouTube, so like it. And Zach, what are people saying? A lot, a little, or not?
I had to scroll up quite a bit. I knew this question was going to yield conversation.
Yes.
Burning Devil just says, get Burks off this team. So that's how we're going to start out. Burks was a bad pick from the jump. Not at all. Not at all from Brandon. A lot from Ty Kendrick. So that's a little bit change. Not at all from Jaron. A little from Guy. A lot from our guy IR. Non-factor from JR. So JR is essentially saying that not at all. So is Steven. A little from Dylon. A lot from Steven. Damon says a lot. A little from Deshaun Washington. None at all. Brings little value from Curtis C. A little from Omar. Not at all from Duran. A lot from Clayton. Not at all from David. Not at all from Andre. A lot from DeMario. Not at all from Jay. So people are chiming in. What do you think? Do you think that the Tennessee Titans need Traylon Burks this season? A lot, a little, or not at all?
Zach, if you think the Houston Texans and the Seattle Seahawks are winnable games, I think they're more winnable if Traylon Burks is back on the field.
Yes. I mean, let's at least agree on that. Everybody's saying not at all. You are delusional. I got to call you out. That is you just being pissed off for no reason. Like, you can sit here. I am not sitting here saying that Traylon Burks is the second coming of Jerry Rice. Okay. I don't think that he's a great player. But, and I think, and I've done some self-diagnosing real quick. And I'll let you answer, but I've done some self-diagnosing on my opinion on Traylon Burks. He already lost because he's not A.J. Brown. He's not even close to A.J. Brown. He can't even carry A.J. Brown's jock. So my expectations have already lowered so much that I don't expect that much from him. Everybody's sitting there like, Zach, well, what about Corey Davis? Corey Davis was picked 5th overall in the entire NFL draft. The expectations of a number 5 overall pick, not the 5th wide receiver, not the 6th wide receiver like Traylon Burks was in the first round, the number 5 overall pick in the NFL. My expectations were a lot higher for Corey Davis, who was a bust. Traylon Burks is trending to be a bust, guys. I'm not sitting here, pulling punches there, but they still need him on this team this year. He's still a weapon. Now, he may be like a switchblade instead of a machete, but like
they still get arrested in the airport with a switchblade. It's still considered a weapon. Yeah.
Right.
So I'll let you're on it, right?
So they need him a lot.
A lot? Okay.
Yes, they need him a lot. They need him as a downfield threat. They need him as a guy who can run drag routes, who could catch a slant pass, who they could be creative with. They can at least distract somebody. Let's poll the audience. Who's better as an athlete? I think Traylon Burks is better than NWI. I think I think anybody would say that. Maybe not.
Traylon Burks and Chigakonkwo are the most explosive athletes on this offense. That is true. Now, neither of those guys has lived up to their expectations. Chris Moore is probably third in explosiveness on this unit. And I like Chris Moore a lot. I think Chris Moore
he has surprised me.
Hey, remember what I said about Chris Moore? Oh, he's pretty smooth. I like that.
I admit he has shocked me. And I'll say, Jody, you're right. Traylon Burks is a spork, but at least you're not eating with your hands. You have to look at it that way.
Oh,
he's not
man.
what you need. You're trying to eat a steak, and a steak ain't going to be, you don't want to spork with the steak, but at least you're not grabbing the thing and picking it up with your hands at the table. So I think I look at it more like that than, oh my gosh, he's a spork.
Especially when that steak is Aaron Brewer. That's really tough with a spork right there. So my answer is also a lot. I think it's absolutely a lot because you need Traylon Burks to work out. Like for anybody who's rooting for Traylon Burks to continue to be a bust, what are you doing? Are you a fan of the Titans? I'm not talking to you, Zach. I'm talking to the people that are rooting for Traylon Burks to be a bust. If you're a fan of the Titans, you want Traylon Burks to get back from this concussion, to figure it the hell out, and to make plays down the field like you saw against the Chargers in week 2. That's what you want to see. You want to see the training camp Traylon Burks like we saw training camp Corey Davis. Hell, you'd love for Traylon Burks to be regular season Corey Davis at this point. That would be a massive deal.
I'm going on record. I hate training camp whoever. I don't get fooled by it anymore, Austin. I don't play into it. I don't buy it. It doesn't work. I've seen too many the training camp of Trey McBride, who I love. That was my last Trey McBride. For all the real OGs Titan fans to know who Trey McBride is, Trey McBride was my last gotcha. And I don't get got anymore when it comes to training camp blank.
Yeah, I get what you're saying there, but there's a difference in Trey McBride and Mason Kinsey training camp hype and first round pick.
No, there's not.
Well, but Zach, when we go to training camp practice, what do you want me to say? Traylon Burks caught 3 touchdowns in the red zone period and skied over every defensive back and got it with his hands.
Your eyes just don't drool. That's
okay, that's fine.
That's
okay.
what I'm asking. That's the epitome of training camp blank.
I think it's
drool. You get a big slob dog, a big bulldog slobbering over Kyle Phillips, and it's just not the case. And we all get fooled, but I no longer will get fooled.
That's fine. But and I'll say this. I did not see Traylon Burks drop a football the entire training camp. But all he's done this season, went out there, is not come down with 50-50 balls. And he's dropped some that have hit him right in the hands of the numbers.
Maybe Christian Fulton was covering him.
He's been open. Traylon Burks has been open.
It's a joke.
But he just had, But so they absolutely need him a lot. They need Traylon Burks to figure this out because, like I was going into, if you're a Titans fan, you want him to figure it the hell out so you can roll into next season with Will Levis, DeAndre Hopkins, Traylon Burks, Chig, who is hopefully not dropping passes moving forward, Josh Wiley, who I like quite a bit, Tajay Spears, and a revamped offensive line. You can in a second or third round pick playmaker. You can do something with that. You're not that far away if Traylon Burks can at least stay healthy and catch the football.
If Chig and Traylon Burks can be less disappointing than they have been all season for the rest of the season, if Traylon Burks even comes, I don't know what. I hadn't talked to medical staff. I don't even know where he is. Mike Vrabel, play the clip again. We'll cut it off early, but listen to Mike Vrabel's answer on this. This tells you everything you need to know. He knows as much as we know on Traylon Burks, I feel like.
Protocol. You hopeful that he can take another step and get back on the
I'm
field?
hopeful for a lot of things, Jim, but I'll just wait, and see whenever the player, in this particular case, Traylon, clears the
protocol. You hopeful that he can hopeful that he.
I'm hopeful for whatever. I don't. Your guess is as good as mine. That's what Vrabel is saying, and I know that that's a little coach podium speak, but when you answer a question like that, I truly believe in your heart you're kind of being truthful. you're being like,
Well, but
I'm hopeful for a lot of things, man. I don't know.
But this is also like concussion protocol that truly isn't in Mike Vrabel, and it's really not in the player's control.
But what Mike Vrabel has to say is Treylon's working as hard as he can to get back on the field.
But that's
a
not,
lot.
That's
a
not
lot has to do with concussion protocol, and he's still going through that.
Yeah, but again, like you can
But
say
that's a different. No, Austin. What I just answered is different and a different tone than, hey, Jimmy. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine, man. I don't know. You know,
it's because Zach. It's because Jim Wyatt used the word hopeful in the question, and Mike Vrabel said, "I'm hopeful for a lot of things."
But he didn't have to say that. That's my point.
I know, but he's being coy, but like Mike Vrabel tends to be. So again, like you hold on.
There's something, not nothing.
I know, but Zach, like you can say player X is working as hard as they can to come back from insert ankle, hamstring, knee, shoulder, elbow, toe, wrist, thumb injury, and they're trying to get back. You can say all that. But when it comes to concussion, like there's nothing Treylon Burks can truly do besides have more time to go through those protocols. Maybe Treylon Burks was too high in his baseline test. Maybe he tried too hard in the baseline concussion test, and he's got to reach that. You know, we joked with Lawan. He failed his baseline test, so his concussion protocol can get back quicker as a joke for anybody from the NFLPA watching. So again, like I think, you know, he's got to just wait. Like it's just time. Concussions are time. It's getting through a protocol that nobody can control other than whatever the brain wants to do.
For this conversation, I'm with you. I'm not sitting here arguing that he needs to get faster back, you know, when it comes to concussion. I'm saying that they need him.
Yes.
Like the Tennessee Titans need their first round wide receiver.
Yes.
Like they also need Chig to play better, right? But they need their first round wide receiver.
Yeah, real quick. This comment just made me laugh because I thought this was a great name pull from Rob. What about Rob? Burks isn't even JJ Stokes. And I was like, damn, JJ Stokes was kind of a dude there for a little bit.
Treylon Burks will be decided.
Right now? Sorry.
Well, Treylon Burks, his Titans career will be decided next year.
Yeah, right now he's Tyrone Calico. He's had a couple moments, but he can't stay healthy.
You don't want to be Tyrone Calico.
Tyrone Calico was a second-round pick. Treylon Burks, first-round pick. W. Callanan says Burks has had 2 good games in about 1 2/3 years. He's a better athlete than NWI. But you know what NWI has is availability. Burks is a non-factor at this point. Put him on IR and hope next year he can play 4 games in a row. Look, I mean, fair.
That's the temperature of the room. I get it, and I'm not going against that. But it still doesn't mean that they still need him.
Absolutely need him. All right, Zach, let's throw some shade here. Shout out Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. The end of the year is a great time to get a great deal on a car. And Wilson County Hyundai can make that deal even better for you. So go see Payne Bone and our friends in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. We throw shade at the end of every Tuesday show. Zach, I'll send you to the chat to see if you see some shades that pop in here, but waiting for those to kind of roll in.
Well, I've got my shade because my shade has to do with the chat because I've seen this and it's funny and it's shade on me. I have shade on myself, which is funny. This made me laugh to start the show so much that I screenshotted it, put it in my phone, and re-uploaded it so everybody could see big across the screen. So this is a self-deprecating moment. I'm not necessarily a self-deprecating type of guy. That's not my humor. But I do know when things are funny, and this is funny. So in the process, about 2 months ago, the girl who cuts my hair, Shelby, who's great, been cutting my hair for years, she got sick, so I missed my appointment. Well, what do I do? I'm not going to go to it. I don't cheat. I'm not going to go, to Great Clips and get, sideswiped. The next time I was out of town, I was in New York or somewhere. So I missed it. So I made the decision. I was like, I'm growing my hair out. Okay. This is what I'm going to do. I'm growing my hair out. Okay. And so as anyone knows, and this is probably my last hurrah, 36. This is probably my last go at it because I'm probably will be a silver fox eventually. And so I was like, I'm doing it. I'm growing my hair out, but I've done this before. I mean, you remember it was down to here at one point. It was long.
Yes.
And it takes time and you got to go through growing pains. And so I am full in my growing pains. And this was funny. So shout out to John. Zach looking like a Midwest emo bassist today. So I kind of do have that boom, 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 boom. So if you need a bassist, I will slap that bass. So shade on myself. I don't even know which way my hair is going. Shade on myself for me going back to my roots. See,
oh my gosh.
Well, because
what are you doing?
It's backwards. It's backwards, right? So that's where I'm at.
Why is it backwards? Oh, the screen's backwards.
The cameras, but
but you should.
Every time I do this, it's back.
Yeah, but you should know how your hair goes. Oh man, that is.
But
funny.
I'm looking at myself. So shade on me. I'm going to get more comments. I knew I was going to do this. I'm just signing myself up for it. But I agree, chat. I look ridiculous. But you got to go through the growing pains to get to the longer locks.
I will say, there was a point last week where I noticed, I was like, man, hair's getting long. Because you're like what, like a 2-week to 3-week haircut time?
Yeah.
Typically?
Yeah. And, I went to Thanksgiving, my niece and nephew, kids say the darndest things. Your hair looks awful, Uncle Zach. What are you doing? I don't like it. I was like, well, too damn bad, lady. We're growing it out.
Trust the process. Brian says, shade on you spork haters out there. It's a spoon and a fork. Look, hey, I don't, there's not much you can use a spork for.
Reminds me of Taco Bell. They used to have like plastic sporks.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Ryan Kennedy says shade is for Richard Sherman due to his terrible replacement for Shannon Sharp. Grin on his face when someone doesn't agree with it. Tough to watch. I don't watch any of that stuff anymore.
I don't watch any of that stuff either, but anytime somebody makes fun of Skip Bayless, I'm pro them.
Yeah. Demetrius says shade on the refs in the Jags-Texans game. Clearly the refs wanted the Jags to win. Jags would be an early exit out of the playoffs. Going on at the same time as the Titans-Panthers game. The NFL slate was just, ugh.
That was a really good game, though. The Jags-Texans was a very good game.
Right. Let's see. Nate Brunner says, shade on myself. I doubted Big Ten Jeff's promise to change his profile pic to a Michigan picture. Respect to Big Ten Jeff. P.S. Ohio State sucks. I did not see that from Jeff. Oh, there it is. Hey, there's your big Michigan. How about that?
Yeah, let's take a moment as the chat and just recognize Big Ten Jeff and the Ohio State Buckeyes getting their ass beat and how Big Ten Jeff feels for the third consecutive year. It's a hard pill to swallow. We all go through it though. Welcome to the rest.
Did you have actual shade or were you just like accepting the shade on yourself?
Shades on myself.
Okay. Just making sure. My shade's also on myself. So this is pre-planned.
Wow.
This is for us to both throw shade. So I've moved right over the Thanksgiving weekend and Zach, taking stuff down from the old place to move into here. And I realized that I hung our curtains completely wrong and they've been wrong for 8 years. Like the curtains that I hung at the old place were incorrect for 8 years. And I didn't realize it until we were moving out. So I was like, God, like, I guess, you get more home improvement handy.
Were they
age.
backwards?
No, it was the brackets. They were crooked because the brackets, instead of going up and down, I went like horizontal with the brackets. And so I had to have 4 screws in the wall exactly even which is really tough to do. And so I guess when I hung them at age 25 or whatever I was, I hung them completely wrong and they were a little crooked. You wouldn't notice it unless you stayed. They were in our bedrooms. Like nobody went in there, but if somebody ate on me, God gotta fix those curtains. I've been saying like, God, I gotta fix those curtains for like 3 years, and I hung them wrong. So idiot here. And now when I hang,
you grow up, right? You get a new house, you start liking nice things, you start to change and evolve. So you got good curtains.
So hung the curtains wrong. So I'm sure there'll be a lot more shade as that goes on. But hey, great show on this Tuesday. A lot of good conversation back and forth here. We will have more great conversation throughout the week as the Titans get set for that game against the Indianapolis Colts. Really a chance to fight for the playoffs or flip it around and start looking at the NFL draft order even more. Buck Rising will be live tonight for A to Z Sports Primetime, so check that out. Make sure you like the show before you go. Hit that thumbs up button. We need that big time. So if you're watching the show and you haven't liked it yet, please hit that like button before you head out. And we'll see you guys tomorrow on a Wednesday. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.